Before we actually start watching the video, let's have a look at something that I recorded today on the 5th of May, and I used my thermal camera. I must have the world's best thermal camera because I'm getting results that shouldn't really exist. The last time we looked at the moon through the thermal camera, I was getting 40 degrees. I'll leave the links to that in the description box down below, nice and simple for everybody to find. But it goes along with the pictures that we're looking at. Is there technology up in our sky hiding things? It's for you to decide. If you don't like what you're looking at, skip ahead 5 minutes, and then that's when the video actually starts. Look at this picture here. It's red, very, very red. It's just a normal. And yes, you can see the the geoengineering. No, sorry, the clouds in the sky. I'm really not too sure. I'm confused what to actually call them. It's something that is man-made to hide what's there in the skies. Many people will say, of course you're nuts, Nige. Yes, I'm absolutely nuts. I'm seeing stuff that I shouldn't be in the skies. It really shouldn't be there. Anyway, I just thought you might actually find that interesting. Thanks for taking the time to join me on my channel, Nige's View on Things. How you doing? How you keeping? Hope everybody's safe and sound where you are. It's 5th of May. It's 2035. And our sun is setting in that direction. If you look over there, you can see the curtain of darkness that runs across the horizon. As you can see there, that's to hide things in the sky. Up there, you can see that's our moon, and it's out. Yeah. Let's have a look at something. Let's have a look at the thermal camera, and let's see if we can get this working properly. So, let's get this focusing. Technology, don't you just love technology? We can see the sky there is -37. That is cold. If we get the moon in focus, or actually in those arrows, what temperature do we get? Oh. Let's zoom it in a little bit, make it a little bit easier for myself. And we go 4 times zoom. Don't forget what we're looking at is, well, they say 250,000 miles away. That object on that thermal camera don't half look like it's spinning. And if we get it in the crosshairs, that tells me come on, Nige, get it together, son. Oh look, the temperature on that, 250,000 miles away, yeah, 0. How can that actually register a temperature? That's what I've got to ask. Of course, I've shown this before. How is that at all possible? Anyway, you make your own minds up. That object seems like it's spinning. Of course it is. Technology in front of our moon. Just a very, very quick one. It's the 5th of May 2020. The time approximately is 9 o'clock. And as we can see in the sky there is our moon. It's starting to rise through the sky. Now, we've got a thermal camera. And let's have a look at this. Let's see if we can get this all together. As you can see, it takes the temperature. That object we're looking at is 250,000 miles away. And if we look at the sky temperature, we can see it's -36. I'm sure it's much colder up there, but 250,000 miles away, so we're told. It's, if we get that in the crosshairs, what is the temperature of that object? Well, let's zoom it in, make life a little bit easier, and there you go. 3.8 times zoom, and as you can see, the temperature of those bushes just over there is, yeah, about 3 centigrade. So let's move this camera up here and let's get a reading of this thing that's 250,000 miles away. It seems to get warmer. Oh, look at that. 2 degrees. That's normal. And on this thermal camera, it looks like it's spinning. Of course, there couldn't be technology in the sky in front of our moon, could there? Go and get a thermal camera, try it yourself, have a look to see what you can see. Of course, my thermal camera is just 40, isn't it? Oh, look at that. Anyway, much love, much peace, and I'll catch you next time. Take care. Thanks for taking the time to join me on my channel, Nigel's View on Things. How you doing? How you keeping? Hope everybody's safe and sound where you are. I'm actually testing a new mic out because the last mic was really good. It had a background noise and it was driving me absolutely insane. If it's doing that to me, it must be doing exactly the same to you. Hopefully this will be a little bit better. I was in the process of making another video and something popped up I need to show you, which I find quite important. It's just the way it is. So much going on in the world at this particular moment in time. What you can see in front of you is a tweet from the BBC UK. Double rainbow appears during Clap for Carers tribute. So what the BBC are actually doing is endorsing that it's okay to see 2 rainbows. No, it's not. One sun. You can't have 2 rainbows. That means there's 2 light sources, or there's a number of lenses in the sky, and that's why you get this effect. But just take note, the inside of that rainbow looks totally different to the outside of that rainbow. Look at the colour of those houses. Any rate, let's continue because this just gets stranger and stranger. And talking of lenses, let's have a look at something that I've caught. And what we're actually going to look at now is from the HP Ren network, and is St. Clement's, I do believe, 2nd of May 2020. I'll leave the links to this in the description box down below and everything else that I'm talking about, so it's nice and simple for everybody to find. First thing you can see, that's what it strikes me. We've got a haze in the background just here. We've got this red and this curtain of darkness which is run all the way around the horizon to hide things. We've got our sun starting to rise, that's yellow. We've got our sun simulator starting to rise with the sun to hide things. How do we know it is the sun simulator? We've got this blue hue, that phosphorus look that we get off these lights. That is one way to tell. I mean, you've been driving down the road, you've looked at those big LED lights coming towards you, you get that blue glow, and we get to see it when we take pictures of the sun. Red spinning object just here, and let's play the video. It's flashing, that's normal, and all of a sudden everything starts to change. Red spinning object, yellow sun, white sun simulator. This object is not a planet. If it was that close in the sky, I think we would feel the effects of it. That is a lens system, and they're trying to hide things in the sky. There is a complex system of lenses that have there. Many people around the world showing pictures, videos of the same thing. It's not just a camera abnormality. Of course you can call it, yeah, it's a raindrop. Does it look like it's raining? And look at the redness in the background. It's just pollution. We're in the middle of a lockdown. How can there be pollution? They're telling us how clean everything is. They are still spraying our skies, even though you might not actually get to see it. We could see the I'll start again. We can see the reflection of what's going on here, down here, up here. Look at the rainbow effect. Look at them spraying. It's geoengineering. Look how it turns the sky into a mirror, you've got no chance of seeing anything at all. How do we know it's a lens? Just there, you can see two lines. Every time we get to see a lens, there are two lines. Like I said, many people around the world showing exactly the same thing, but these are all just faulty cameras. Should our sun look like this blue hue around the outside, we can see there's a lens system up there, and in come the geoengineering clouds. It reminds me of a great big poison gas chamber that they've used in the past. Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Slip of the tongue. I'm sure they wouldn't do that to us or lie to us, would they? Let's play Spot the Plane. Well, did you spot the plane? X marks the spot. A pound to go. Of course they would never lie to us now, would they? Let's get back into this. Let's get back into the madness. And you can see a picture here. It was taken the 4th of May 2020. The time on this was at 2:36. And as we can see, this picture is absolutely normal. Let's have a look at the properties, and I'll bring it into the window. Excuse the clicking, and we go down here and we can see that the exposure time is 32 seconds and all the information you need is there. I suppose the point I'm trying to make here is a 32-second exposure, and as you can see, there are no lines, there are no abnormalities. Apart from being out of focus, there is nothing wrong with this picture. Well, unless you count the sky, which looks alien. Let's continue with this madness. As you can see here, I made a video, 1.9 thousand views. 2 months ago, Jigsaw Sky, another faulty camera. And I suppose what we're just about to look at is a continuation from this video. What I've caught, I really haven't got an answer for. Is my camera actually faulty, or is there something in the sky that really shouldn't be there? Let me show you what I've actually caught. The picture we're looking at was taken on the 4th of May at 19 minutes past 2. 24-second exposure. The first thing you can notice is really how purple, and yeah, it shouldn't really be like that. We can see our moon that's covered in clouds here. I'm sure they're clouds. And we can see there's a line just here. Really doesn't make any sense. Is that the fault of the camera? Again and again we've seen this. I've shown it. I actually posted a picture on a community page. Here it is. Northeast 32 degrees, 27th of April. The time on the picture is 21:58, and as you can see, if you look very, very closely, we have this jigsaw effect going on in the sky. Why is this actually being caused? Is this a fault of the camera? And this is a 32-second picture. Well, the exposure is 32 seconds. Let me just show you. Just down here, all the information you need is just there for you to see. Really, it shouldn't be like that, because it's a long exposure, nothing more, nothing less. How is it at all possible that that is there in the sky? And that's exactly where it stops. It doesn't go any further. It doesn't go into the field, as you can see here. But, yet again, time after time, I've started to get this. Here's where the strangeness really does start. But before we look at that, I need to show you a picture that goes along with the last picture you just seen. So actually going back to this picture very, very quickly, what I actually did was turn the camera around and let's have a look at what we get to see. Let's grab the details and put it up on the screen so everybody can see. and you can see the dimensions and width and height of the picture. You can actually see what type of camera it is, and you can see that we're looking at a 32-second exposure. We can see what the time and date is. It's the 4th of May 2020, 2:22 at, well, in the morning, at night, whatever you like to call it. You can say that these are street lights. All our street lights, or 99% of them in the UK, are now white, not yellow or orange. What is going on with the sky? Why is it looking like that? And yet again, where the moon is, which is this direction, and we're looking approximately east, 110 degrees, just about there, I do believe, we've got this mosaic jigsaw effect in the sky. For me, nothing wrong at all. Really shouldn't be getting this effect in the sky. When I took the picture, it was extremely hard to see anything because it was so dark. 32 seconds exposure time brings something out that, for me, well, of course, it's just a faulty camera. It looks like a Dalmatian in the sky. Our moon is this direction, and we're getting this effect where the moon is just about here. Before we actually look at the picture, let's have a look at the details. As we can see, 2nd of May, and the time is 23:38. All the details appear in front of us, and we can see the f-stop is f2.2, exposure time is 32 seconds, ISO speed is 250, exposure bias is 0 step, focal length is 4mm, max aperture is 2.27, metering mode is pattern, flash mode there is none. Many people I've shown this picture to have all come to the same conclusion. It definitely doesn't look natural. Let's have a look. And at first glance everything looks normal. We have that haze in the background. Oh, those lovely clouds. But if we take more careful inspection, there looks like there is something around our moon. This was a half moon, by the way, not a full moon. And the first thing that strikes me, apart from this jigsaw piece in the sky, is there looks like there's a triangle there. There are a number of dots, as you can see, scattered around the picture. One thing I've noticed about these dots, because it's a long exposure, it looks like they're moving, as you can see there. Either up or down, not rightly too sure. I've caught these in the past, and I made a video about that. I'll leave links to that in the description box down below. Street lamps in the universe or solar system, whatever it might be, very, very strange. But this picture in itself is definitely strange. What we're going to do is stick this in like a Photoshop. We're going to use GIMP, and we're going to have a look to see what's going on. We're inside GIMP version 2.8, and the first thing I want to do is have a look at the histogram. Anybody that knows about photoshopping can tell straight away that this picture is untouched, because whatever we do here will relate over here. And I'd like to thank John C for sorting something out, because when I took this picture I was at work. I asked him if he could put the equalize filter on, which we've used many different times, and it just brings the picture out a lot better. And as you can see, the picture's now changed, so has the histogram. Let's get rid of that. Let's zoom this in to 25%, and now what I would like to do is decrease the brightness and increase the contrast and bring out a lot more definition. And as you can see here, there is a lot going on. We've got these lovely clouds in the background, but also we can see that we've got these objects here. Are these stars? They appear to be moving. I don't think you're going to get to see anything behind that soup that's in the sky. There is something definitely there that doesn't look natural. Are we looking at technology in front of our moon? Now that wouldn't be possible now. Let's just zoom it out a little bit so we can get to see the full picture. And yeah, the equalize filter really doesn't do anything. It doesn't put anything in, it doesn't take anything out. It just brings everything to the same sort of level. But there is definitely something not quite right there. I think you can agree. What is that and that? It definitely doesn't look natural, and it certainly isn't part of these lovely clouds in the sky. Lots and lots of triangles going on. I think you can agree. There is something not quite right. Technology in our sky? No, don't be silly. Not at all. Not at all. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, maybe 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, yeah, there's just too many to be a coincidence, isn't there? So really, here's the question, has this actually happened again? So the 5th of May 2020, 19 minutes past the hour of 12 in the morning, not in the afternoon, in the morning, 019. Let's have a look at the details. 32-second exposure, as you can see there, all the details are in front of you, and look at what actually happened. Yes, we got a lens flare here, very, very strange lens flare, and it looks like our sun, but it is our moon. And there is a dot there, and there seems to be another dot there, and a dot there, and a dot there. They look like triangles. I'm sure that is an actual thing to be in the sky, and we've got this jigsaw effect yet again. So what I did, I actually moved the camera up just in case it was reflecting off the top of that. Yes, and what do we get? Exactly the same thing going on. Is this just a coincidence? We can actually see some stars going on in the background here. 32-second exposure yet again, and let's just move this over here. All the details yet again in front of you. Why are we getting this effect? It's just a faulty camera, I'm sure, nothing more. Right, let's get on with the last picture, because this video has gone on long enough and I'm sure you've had enough of me whittling on. 4th of May 2020, 1 minute past the hour of 4 in the morning. All the details are right in front of you. 32-second exposure. As you can see, there is nothing wrong with this picture well, unless you talk about what's in the sky, of course. And then we get to see this. Our moon is starting to set. It's turned a lovely orange colour, and it's got this around the outside. Is the technology in our skies? That's for you to decide. I mean, really, we shouldn't be looking at this. Red, orange, white. We've got this jigsaw piece around the outside. Technology, or is it just a faulty camera? I mean, you've got to make your own minds up. Anyway, the strangeness continues, doesn't it? Much love, much peace, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News, May 9th, 2020. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I know I haven't been on here pretty close to, I think, almost 2 weeks now. But a lot of you know that I've had a death in my family. My ex-wife took her life, and it has kind of, really turned things upside down. It was a very, very big shock to me, and definitely a big shock to my son and my daughter. My son's 21 years old. He's in his last year of college at FSU, and my daughter's 19, and she's also attending FSU. And just some very, very tragic times, folks, where we're all quarantined still. Life as we know it has been completely turned upside down. And just a complete freaking mess, I've been keeping up with, all of my work. And things have been, pretty busy in my life over the last 10 days. I wanted to thank Mark at Wages World, and I wanted to thank each and every one of you for helping my family out in a very, very critical time of need. Something that completely caught me by surprise, not only emotionally but physically also, and financially. I don't know if any of you have ever been placed into that situation. You have a loved one that passes away, and, they don't have any life insurance, and, you're responsible for taking care of these things, funeral, cremation, whatever it may be. And when it involves, the mother of your children, whether you're still married or divorced, whatever, it's just a really, really trying, pressurous situation. And, I spent this past week still feeling very, very guilty about a lot of things, beating myself up inside and out, simply because my ex-wife tried to call me on that Facebook Messenger. Excuse me. And I just happened to be in the shower. And she had called 3 times in a row on that Facebook Messenger. And naturally I didn't see those messages or those calls coming through. And right after I got done in the shower, I went to the kitchen, had a sandwich, and then I actually had to step out and go to Walmart for a few things. And it wasn't until I got back from Walmart that I noticed those messenger calls on Facebook. I don't know why she didn't call my cell phone. I definitely would have heard that. I got a very, very loud ringer. I don't know, But when I did see that she called on that Messenger app, I inboxed her back. And by then it was about 3 hours later, and I got no reply. And I tried to call her back multiple times on the Messenger app. I also tried to call her cell phone, and I got no answer. And that was on a Sunday. And 2 days later, I get a message from my daughter, and it is very, very shocking message. And when my daughter wasn't able to get a hold of her mother for 2 days, Um, she called for a welfare check, and the apartment building maintenance had notified the Palm Beach County Police and also the Boca Raton Police, and they went in and they found that she was deceased, and she did take her own life. She did leave a note, a very, very short letter, just a few lines. I've been struggling, with the fact that, maybe if I would have been available and I would have took the calls, I would have saw the messages come in, and 3 hours didn't go by. Maybe she would still be here today. Apparently she had been feeling very, very depressed over this whole lockdown situation. And, she's never been mentally unstable. But to take your own life, it comes to very, very drastic measures. That's a very, very drastic thing to do. And I just still don't understand it. Neither of my kids understand it. But I've been beating myself up left and right over it because I wish I would have been there to take those calls. But I cannot turn back time. I cannot change what has happened. And it's just one of those situations that it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. And you have to overcome that. We all have to be very, very strong at this point in time. Everything that's going on around us, in our own households, in our own towns, and our own cities, and our own states, in our own countries, the whole entire world is feeling the pinch, and people are having very, very severe money problems. People are having very intense emotional issues and problems. I have actually seen for my own self through news articles that have been, describing what's going on as far as people's emotional state. There was the New York City nurse that after she got done with her shift, she went home and committed suicide. And then a week later, a director at that same hospital did the same thing. We had a murder-suicide here in Pittsburgh related to this superbug situation. I don't even want to mention the name because they'll start deleting videos here on the boob tube. But we had a very young Oriental scientist at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and he was on the forefront of making some pretty big discoveries, and it was just about to be publicized. And a friend of his went over to his apartment, killed him, and then committed suicide, murder-suicide. And then yesterday I read another article about somebody else doing the same thing to themselves. I'm trying to watch what I say here on the sensitive snowflake boob tube. I'm really getting sick and tired of their censoring. That's all they want to do, is they want to censor the truth. And that's a sad thing, I used to really respect YouTube for its platform, but they've just basically decided that, they will be the judge and the jury of what you're allowed to see. And there'll probably be more of that to come in the very near future. I've been talking about that for the last couple of years. But for all of you that stepped up and helped my family, man, let me tell you, throughout my lifetime, I've never been that person that's, just take. I've always been the person that wanted to give. And for me, even throughout my young adult life, it gave me some kind of a internal high helping people, And in my career, when I worked in Miami, during the holidays, all holidays, I used to go down to the big homeless shelter in downtown Miami. We'll just call it the soup kitchen. And, they used to prepare meals for the homeless, hundreds and hundreds of meals. I would give up, my time, and I would go down there for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter. And I'm great in the kitchen, so I knew what I was doing. And I lived in Miami for 22 years. Out of those 22 years, 18 of those years, I devoted that time to giving back. And, my father used to make fun of me. On Christmas Day, I'm getting up early in the morning, and I'm heading down to the soup kitchen to, start preparing meals for hundreds of people that were less fortunate. And last week, my family became one of those less fortunate. And all of you, hundreds of you, I couldn't even begin to go through the list of people. It would probably take me a couple of hours. But you all know who you are. That's just the bottom line. Oh, Truth Planner, thank you very much. And thank you very much for the donation and the prayers. But all of you know who you are. And you guys, you took a tough, hard-nosed guy and you turned him into a softie, Very, very humbling. In a couple of discussions with Mark at Wages World, I was really upset for the fact that I didn't know what to do. I didn't have $3,000 to put together a cremation service for my ex-wife, and something for the kids to say a final goodbye. And it was devastating me, on top of the fact that I missed her calls. Maybe I could have talked to her. It seemed to me now that she was definitely trying to reach out to me. I don't know. I will never know. And that's probably going to haunt me for a long, long time. Same situation happened to me when my mother passed away in 2005. And I had just retired from my job in Miami. I moved back up here to Pittsburgh. And my mom was very sick. And that was one of the main reasons why I retired after 22 years. I had had enough. And I wanted to be with my family, and I wanted to help my mom. And my mom was already in the hospital by the time I got back here. And I only had 3 days with her before she passed away. But on that second day, my mom was bitching and complaining that she wanted to leave the hospital. She wanted to go home. She wanted to leave. And I remember standing there next to her bed, and I said to her, Mom, look, they're going to be running these tests tomorrow, chill out. And if you want to go home tomorrow, I'll come pick you up and you can get out of here. And she agreed. Well, 16 hours later, I'm getting a phone call from the hospital that my mom died of a cardiac arrest that morning, and she was gone. So, I had to eat that for 3 straight years. I beat myself up over the fact that, what if? What if I would have took my mom home that day? Would she still be alive? But I left her in the hospital because it was the right thing to do, I guess. And I beat myself up for that 3 years. 3 years. And I still think about it, man. I still think about that. It crosses my mind all the time. And we all know that, a lot of these things are not within our power, And, but we do have to push forward. It's very, very sad. And, I am forever indebted to all of you that helped out. We are all complete strangers. I'm just some guy on YouTube that, none of us have ever met each other. None of us have ever talked on the phone. None of us have sat down together and broke bread. But I have to say that that help from all of you really, truly humbled me. You guys, you can't turn me into a softie. You can't. I have to stay hard-nosed. But I'll tell you, I've sat for hours on end over the last couple of days, sometimes in complete silence, just thinking of the outpour of from just really, really good, solid, good-hearted people. And we don't even know each other. None of us know each other really on a personal level. And for people to step up like that, well, that just shows your true colors. That shows your heart. And I'm very, very appreciative of what was done for my family, and especially for the kids. I mean, I call them kids. They're grown adults now, but they've I guess they've held together, pretty good. They both have very bright futures ahead of them. But, there's always that question that comes up, from new people that you meet, maybe they have a question about your mom, and, then you say, oh, my mom passed away. Oh, how did she die? Oh, she took her own life. That's tough. That's tough. And, over the years, I've had a lot of friends back home here in Pittsburgh that have taken their own lives. Last year, and this is no lie, last year in one day, I had 2 female friends of mine. They did the same thing. That, very, very depressed, some underlying issues. And separately, they didn't even know each other, but I knew both of them. And on the same day, they both took their lives. Just very, very sad. So, if anybody feels like that, you got to reach out, man. You got to reach out to family, friends, or if you have to even call that hotline number that Mark had up in his video. Let me turn my light on here. All of a sudden, we got snow in the month of May. It's like an ice storm outside right now. And the lights are going out. My one light up there is getting very dim. But anyways, folks, I wanted to thank each and every one of you. I did plan on doing a live stream a couple of days ago, but my allergies have been acting up. I don't know. I just didn't really have it in me. And then I'm seeing all of these things transpire, on Facebook and social media. All of these things that we're going through, dealing with this current situation that we're in. You all know what I mean. Now it's become political. It's become a complete conspiracy. And the more and more you try to tear the conspiracy apart and get to the truth, the more and more you get censored. So I've had some moments where my anger was at such a high level. Oh, I could have twisted somebody's head off. It's very sad what's happening. It's very sad what's happening to people, people's businesses. I have so many friends of mine who are business owners. They're on their last leg. Here in the state of Pennsylvania, the idiot governor, what an idiot. Nobody's getting their unemployment checks. Nobody's getting their $600 stimulus check. Very few people that I know got their $1,200 stimulus check. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's crazy. The food bank lines here in the Tri-County area, I saw an aerial photograph the other day from a drone. This is no lie. The line had to be, it looked like over 1.5 miles long. Sad, And here in Pennsylvania, our unemployment rate was at an all-time low. Everything was going beautifully here, But hopefully things will get better very, very quickly. They've lifted some of the stay-at-home orders for part of the state, and by next Friday, they'll be releasing many more counties, including the county that I live in. Because I live just about 20 miles south of the city of Pittsburgh, but I live in a different county. I'm actually right in the middle of 4 counties. I live right in the middle of all 4 counties. And the county that I live in, we've only had 35 deaths. Out of those 35 deaths, 29 of them came from a nursing home. So I'm sure you guys have all seen the whole entire mess and debacle that these retarded, ridiculous, stupid politicians have gotten these elderly people into. Just like the bozo that runs the state of New York, the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. The governor here in my state, Tom Wolf, complete jerk-off. They order these people to send these sick patients back to the care home to infect everybody. Come on. But that's what's happened. And it's awful. It's terrible. A lot of doctors are being censored. A lot of scientists, once again, are being censored. Folks, if social media would just get off their high horse, okay, and stop the censoring, and these videos that have been put out by these doctors, I've watched every one of them. I did not see one that was so terrible that it had to be removed from the social media platform itself. The one with the nurse going on and on and on about the situation in New York, that was, I don't know, man, not very much credibility involved in that. But when you have doctors that are giving you their name and you could verify that they are doctors and they're giving you a professional opinion, I don't call that a conspiracy. I call that truth. I call that professionalism. And when you start to censor doctors, when you censor scientists, then you are censoring the truth. You're holding back the truth. And that really pisses me off. That gets me so mad I could feel my blood pressure going sky high, And believe me, in due time, more truth will come out. And it's probably not going to be good. And I've been reporting on that subject matter, going back all the way to, end of February, beginning of March. It's terrible. But anyways, on another note, I've kept up with my research, and we got some pretty good photo captures I want to share with you guys. One of them I caught at the end of April, and I did show the pictures on Facebook. And in our private network, the Planet X News private network, those photographs always get posted there first for a day or two. But, folks, I'm telling you right now, man, social media, whether it be YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they just control everything that we see, everything that we read. I don't think that's fair. But I'm not going to go on and on about these snowflakes. If you ever get a chance to join our private network, I would do so. It's $5 a month, and it's not that big of a deal to most people, because sooner or later, you just never know. I've already been suspended on Facebook. I don't even know how many times. 5 times last year, each time for 30 days. And I never even did anything, And now they're going through with all their algorithms and they're wiping things out left and right. Terrible. It's like, Nazi Germany. But anyways, I want to share these photos with you because they're really, really cool. But before I get to all of that, I was just about to bring that up. This guy, Jeremy, in the live chat, this guy's saying, type in the final days on YouTube. It shows the planet. I was just actually about to talk about that final days YouTube channel once again, because I had a bunch of people in the Planet X News group that was sharing some of that lady's latest videos in my Planet X News group and on Facebook. And that is a no-no, because all of what she shows is complete fakery. It's fake. It's garbage. And I've had some words with a few people, once again, trying to explain what she's showing you. And what she's showing you is just hocus pocus, smoke and mirrors, but people are buying it. And you notice that she gets a lot of views, and that's because YouTube knows that what she's showing you is crap. So they're not going to censor her YouTube channel. But let me show you something here real quick. This is a screenshot, plus I added something to her photograph. And this was a screenshot. This is her photograph right here that she overlaid into this background from the FAA webcam. And what you see here in this square that's highly pixelized is nothing more than an internal lens flare, or not an internal lens flare, an internal reflection inside of the camera housing on those FAA webcams, okay? And what she describes as craters are water droplets magnified. And that's all that it is. And then people say to me, oh, wait a minute, Scott, it's rotating. No, it's not rotating. Those are frames, photograph frames. It's not video, okay? They take a picture, every 2 minutes, every hour, something like that. I don't know what their time frame is with those cameras. But if you put all of the frames together like an old-fashioned motion picture, then yes, it would look like it's rotating. It would look like it's moving. When in actuality, and here's my picture. I placed this photograph next to hers. This right here, I captured that, last year. And, it's supposed to be a pink planet with a bunch of craters in it. And, we could zoom in on that a little bit. So you could see my photograph is high definition. Her photograph is highly pixelized, terribly pixelized. You could see how big the pixels are. Mine was done in high definition. Now, this is what water droplets look like clearly, okay, without going through lenses and a piece of plexiglass housing that the FAA cameras are housed inside of. And because they go through extreme weather, condensation builds up on the inside. And then when the sun starts to pass by, the ultraviolet rays of the sun start to melt a little bit of frost that may form on the inside. And then you get the water droplets. And then as the sun passes on by, those water droplets actually freeze again. So this is a daily occurrence. I mean, this is what happens. I investigated the FAA webcams extensively all the way back in 2016. And here we are, almost 4.5 to 5 years later, and people still believe that there's a pink planet in the sky, but only over Alaska. And just like I said to a few people this morning that were busting my chops, oh, watch this lady's video. Oh, look what she's found, blah, 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 blah. But in actuality, folks, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's fake, 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 fake. It's not real. All you have to say to yourself is this. If you're smart and you know about the tides, the tides come in, the tides come out. The tides are controlled and influenced by what? The moon. The moon is 238,000 miles away. Okay? And, the moon's a decent size. If the moon would come closer to the Earth just a little bit, we would see an increase in the heights of the tides. Things would start to get very erratic, very fast, and it would be very noticeable. Okay? So, case in point, let's roll it back. If we have a big, gigantic pink planet in the sky, but only seen over Alaska and only seen on the FAA webcams, if that planet was visible like it is in this photograph, we would all be goners. The tidal surge would probably make its way 300 to 500 miles inland. We would have tidal waves that would be 300 to 500 feet high twice a day. The bulge of water in the center part of the Earth around the equator would probably shrink and expand and shrink and expand, and would be living on a liquid Earth. So nobody who watches these ridiculous videos ever takes that into consideration. The lady has her comment section shut off. She claims that, there are telemarketing companies that have been hired by who knows who to leave thousands and thousands and thousands of derogatory comments under all of her videos. She also claims that the powers that be came into her house and destroyed all of her equipment because of what she's showing all of you. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. That's a complete bullshit lie. It's all a lie. If there was a pink planet visible with your eyes up in the sky, you wouldn't even be able to see it because a tidal wave 500 feet high would blast over your head and you'd be gone. So it's all pretty much just for YouTube views. But, each and every week, somebody asks me, "Hey, Scott, can you take a look at the final days? Can you take a look at the final days?" This was the, I think this was the thumbnail to her video. Rotating orb with large characteristic craters. Now, if you zoom into this, you see this ridge right here. It's the inside of the camera housing. It's the aperture is what it's called. It's not a planet in the sky. Trust me, folks, if it was, we would be looking at this stuff every day on this YouTube channel. I would be showing it to you every day or every time I found it. But why is it that this pink planet is only visible in the sky above Alaska, and why can you only see it on the FAA webcams? Because it's an anomaly. It's all that it is. It's not real. It's not real at all. This was a screenshot that I took from her video. This is, and I took this photograph and I converted it into ultra high definition 4K, and you can see how crisp the photograph is with the planes and the background. None of her videos look like that. They're blurry. They're distorted when she shows you these photographs. When she crops in photographs like that, she did this, not me. But when she crops this in, you could see how highly pixelized it is. So if it was actually in the sky, why is there a need to crop that photograph, overlay that photograph into the original photograph? I know she says she uses some, I don't know, contrast and contour, some kind of changes or something like that. None of it really makes any sense. I think the woman is one big gigantic scammer. And if we take a look and we switch this over to a complete negative, and then we'll take a look at it. Now you could definitely see that this is nothing more than, it's not a lens flare, it's actually a reflection of the aperture, the little round circle in the center of the camera lens that closes and opens whenever you take your photograph. It's called an aperture. And and I've gone over this 100 times with everybody, and you could clearly see how pixelized it is. It doesn't belong in this crisp background. Okay, so it's nothing more than an overlaid image onto a crisp background. It's fakery. I don't know what the woman's problem is. Everybody asks me about it all the time. And what could I say? I mean, you guys are either going to believe it or you're not going to believe it. It looks like a lot of you do believe it. But it's all fake. That is fake. Then she talks about some kind of NASA craft that tows a sun simulator around on a rope through the sky or something crazy like that. Her videos are really nutty. But again, people watch it. They don't know a lot about science. They don't know a lot about Earth space science. They don't realize that if another planet came that close to the Earth, we would have very, 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 very strong gravitational tugs from each of the planets, and our tides would be just massive. It would look like a scene out of that movie, The Day After Tomorrow. Have we seen that yet? No, we haven't. So it is what it is, but, enough talking about that lady. And look, there's a lot of kooks on YouTube. I try to stick with the facts. Period. I don't like playing around in, la la land and make-believe land. I want the truth. Period. And I do assume that that's what all of you are here for, right? You're here for the truth. You're not here for a show. You're not here for me to entertain you. You're here for the truth. And you're curious about what is happening in our solar system, what is happening out there by our sun. And it's getting pretty interesting. I could say that. Let me share these other photo captures with you guys from this past 10 days. Where am I going to start? Oh, we'll start right here. Now this came off of the SEEDS program from the University of Michigan. And this was on 4/29. I do believe I have another photo capture a few days before this. And you could see the object. There was a coronal mass ejection, a small one, as this object started to pass by. Now remember, it's in a 28-day orbit. We're going to see it twice a month. We're going to see it in the beginning of the month, and we're going to see it at the end of the month on the opposite sides of the sun. And it's mainly going to be near the equatorial region of the sun, because that's the only view that we're going to ever get from these cameras on these spacecraft. On top of that, it is in a very, very, very sharp, eccentric, and elliptical orbit, which means everybody asks me, oh, well, why can't we see it eclipsing the sun? Because it doesn't pass across the front face of the sun. For instance, whenever we see a normal eclipse, the moon comes between the sun and it blocks out the sun. So you have the earth, the moon, and the sun. Now, you wouldn't have an eclipse like that would be visible from Earth if the moon was way, way closer to the sun. Because of the size of the sun and the little teeny size of the moon, it would just pass by. You wouldn't even notice it. You wouldn't even recognize it. So, for years and years and years and years now, people ask the same question. And you have the debunkers that try to trip you up. Oh, if that thing was out there, it would eclipse the sun. No, it would not. It would eclipse the sun if it was as big as the sun, but it's not. So it's the perspective. If you put something closer and closer and closer and closer and closer, and then bingo, it eclipses the sun. If it's way back here, I can't eclipse the sun. I can't eclipse the camera. So I'm sure you guys all understand that. And let's see which direction I'm going in here. This is a close-up, and these are all done in high definition. We could zoom right into that bad boy. And here, folks, there's no fakery, there's no trickery here at all, period. We're not looking at these on some FAA webcam, and these photographs are only seen over Alaska. Here's another broad photograph of it, and this was on the 29th. This is just even closer. And you notice that this photograph, none of my photographs are pixelated. Okay? They're crisp. We can see what's there. We can see some definition of what's there. And on top of that, it's 93 plus million miles away. So I think it's a pretty good job. Again, just another... I squared this picture off. I just cropped it. Same thing with that one. These are all the same photograph. I zoomed in quite a bit on that, and you could even see it's not pixelized at all. You do see some little distortions, but that comes from the coronagraph. This is a complete negative. This was on 4/29, April 29th. 1348-08 UTC time. Bingo. Right where it should be, and doing what it does all the time. Creating that coronal mass ejection, pulling plasma directly away from the sun. Here's a close-up of the negative. Here's even closer. It's kind of bright because of the negative. Here's just a panoramic view of it. And this is a technique called embossing. Not all programs have it. The program that I have has different levels of embossing. And I do use it quite frequently because I want to be able to see if something's three-dimensional. So you could see it right here. And you could see the, we'll get closer to it, but you could see the coronal mass ejection. Here's an up close. And now you could really see that that is a three-dimensional, solid, round, spherical object. Here's as close as we're going to get. We could actually zoom in on that even more. And you can see the coronal mass ejection plasma stretching across. But the more you zoom in on this, it will distort a little bit. But, you know, I consider that to be solid, hardcore evidence. That's evidence. And I've been showing you this type of evidence for years now. And I'm going to make a few statements at the end of this live stream. Some people may like it. Some people it may not bother. Some people it may change their view of me. But what I'm going to tell you at the end of this live stream is pure, cold, hard facts and the truth. Now, this is very interesting. This is let me see something here. Oops, I went the wrong way. Hold on. Let me jump out of here real quick. Where is my... There we go. I got these photographs out of order. This was on 5/4, okay? So we saw the first object on the 29th. And now we're getting into this secondary object. If you guys have been paying attention to my live streams just over the past 4 months, and even going into the latter part of 2019, me and Mark both were saying that we're seeing two objects, not at the same time, at different times. And that only came to light back in early 2019 for the first time, actually getting real photographs of two objects. Two. One of them seems to be, you know, kind of smooth in nature. And the other one seems to be kind of rocky, distorted. This one is, I consider to be the secondary object, and it's smooth. It doesn't have that rocky, distorted surface. I don't know what they are, but all I know is that there are two of them, and they orbit in the same orbital pattern, but a little further apart. A couple of days apart, actually. So we'll go into the zoomed in photograph. Oh, I got these out of order. Now here, you can see it right here. And this is the panoramic view of it. And this is on April or May 4th. Coronal mass ejection, still going on. There's our object right there. And you see how this one is smooth. Now, it may not be smooth all the way down on the surface, but from our point of view, this is not the first time, second time, third time, or fourth time I've caught this one. I catch it all the time now. I know exactly when and where to view this object during a complete month, a 30-day cycle. This object seems to be on a 28-day cycle, orbital pattern around the sun. And it's going to stay there. It's not going to come blasting towards the Earth. It's not going to destroy the Earth like you see some of these Nibiru videos. Oh, Nibiru's going to crash into the Earth in 72 hours. Making billions views, you know. But yeah, that's the thing. This object is real. It is as real as you go ahead and put it in the back of your hand. It's real. It's there. I've been showing it to people for years. So let's back out of this one, and we'll get to a full-blown zoomed in photo. That's about as I could zoom into it more, but it will distort. And I mean, you can see the perfect outline of it, and you can see that it's not rocky like that other photograph. And each and every month now, or like the last year, we're seeing these two objects. You'll catch it in the beginning of the month. The beginning of the month. Usually, we'll catch a visual of it within the first 5 days of the month. And at the end of the month, as it's exiting and going down below the ecliptic, we'll catch a view of it between the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, or 31st. We have like a little bit of a 5-day window. Why is that? Because not all months have 30 days in it or 31 days, and we had a leap year, and that kind of messed with our dates a little bit. When something is in orbit, days of the week don't come into play. It's on its same orbit over and over and over again for, millions and billions of years, unless something tragic happens and it gets disturbed and, knocked off of its orbit and blah, blah, blah. But something that close to the sun, the sun's gravitational force will keep that object in place as long as that object stays in motion. That's why Mercury doesn't fall into the sun. That's why the Earth doesn't fall into the sun. That's why Venus doesn't fall into the sun, because they stay in constant motion. Now, if the Earth stopped orbiting the sun, it just stopped. The sun would start pulling it in. Just like that. And as the sun pulled it in, and it got closer and closer and closer and closer and closer, and then the sun would just eat it right up. But we don't have any planets like that in our solar system, do we? All of our planets stay in motion on set orbits around our star. That's why they don't fall in. In all actuality, all of the planets are falling in towards the sun, but they continue to make their rotations and their orbits, and they miss that date with the sun crashing into it. So that's how it works. It doesn't work off of some FAA webcam with a pink planet. Here was just a comparison, top and bottom, that I did. This is a panoramic. This one's zoomed in. And there's no denying that what you're seeing on your screen is there. Okay, that's not some lens anomaly. That's not some lens flare in space. Come on now. It kind of looks like Jupiter. If you roll back, you look at those white areas and this little round area here, it almost looks like Jupiter. But that flow that you see here in that white area, that's actually plasma being pulled off of the sun and literally wrapping partially around this object. But remember, this object is passing by the sun. So it's literally going through these coronal mass ejections, which absolutely has to be a violent, super violent situation. Because these coronal mass ejections are equivalent to, 1 million atomic bombs going off on the sun. And depending on the speed that the object travels, I think we calculated it out to be about 38,000 miles per hour as it travels, which really isn't that fast. But because it's so close to the sun, it seems that fast. And then you'll get the calculation of the 28-day orbit. Now, if this object orbited on a flat plane like this, we would see some type of partial eclipse. We would see something. There's no doubt about that. As large as that object is, even that close to the sun, we would definitely see something if it was on a flat plane. But it's not. It's on a very sharp, eccentric, and elliptical orbit. It's pretty damn sharp. I've done the model on it. I've showed you guys what that model looks like. And it has a very, very close pass to the sun as it moves upward over top. As it comes downward, it will go all the way down past the ecliptic, meaning the halfway point in our solar system. And it will go way down below the ecliptic like a slingshot and scoot back up. And that all happens in approximately 28 days. The orbit that this thing has, or these objects have, is very, very similar to the orbit of Mercury. But the incline that these objects orbit the sun are much more acute. They're much more sharper than the orbit of Mercury. If you want to study or take a look at the orbit of Mercury, just Google it. Just Google, Mercury's orbit, 88 days around the sun. Mercury's about 35, 36 million miles from the sun. That's why Mercury, a little teeny tiny Mercury, nothing ever happens to it because the majority of Mercury is a core. So, it's mainly metal, a molten metal core. That's why nothing ever happens to Mercury. It stays in motion. It's 35, 36 million miles away from the sun. That's why it doesn't burn up. Everybody asks about that all the time. It stays in motion. Same thing with these objects. This object stays in motion. I don't know how close it gets at its closest point. And I don't know how far away it gets at its furthest point because we've never seen it. We can't see it. The cameras do not give us that view. Now, the Parker Space Probe and the new solar orbiter that are orbiting the sun now, one's going, in a weird pattern like that, and the other one's going up and down like this. You know damn well that they're getting photos of it. You know that they're sending photographs back to NASA on a daily basis. No doubt about it. This is a side-by-side from the 29th. Sorry, I had these out of order a little bit. But you can see the timestamp here of 1200 hours, 12 noon on the 29th. You can see the positioning. This is from the Cactus coronagraph. This captures coronal mass ejections and records them. You can see the position of it right here at 12 o'clock time, UTC. Same date, but at the hour of 1348, which would be 1:48 p.m. or 1:48 a.m. And you could see the positioning of it. So it's not going away from the sun. It's going downward like this. That's why it's further away at 12 o'clock and closer at 1348. I know that may be a little confusing, but that is the way that it is. And I just got I have a few negatives. I always place these high definition photographs into a negative. It's just a habit of mine. These are the same identical photographs. You can see it here in a negative. We'll go ahead and zoom in on it. On the internet, definitely not on YouTube or on this planet that knows more about these damn objects. Especially this the main object that I've been studying for years and years and years. Now, what I wanted to get to and what I wanted to say, which, to some people it may sound really arrogant. I don't know. But somebody mentioned it to me, and they sent me an email, and the gentleman said, Scott, he says, I've been watching your YouTube channel since 2016, and he said, before you started showing your evidence and your research, I fell into watching Marshall Masters and WSO and all of these other YouTube channels that said that they had the answers and they said that they had the evidence, but they never showed anything. He said, I started watching John Moore and I listened to his whole military story, but he never showed any evidence. I listened to Terrell Blackstar for a whole year, but Terrell never showed any observational evidence. He said, I've watched all of the YouTube channels, and none of them have ever shown any observational evidence anywhere near close to what you have shown everybody for years. And then I started thinking about his email. And this is what he said. He said, people say that Robert Harrington discovered Planet X. But Robert Harrington, Dr. Harrington, truly did not discover Planet X. He said, you did. And I got to thinking about what he was saying. I thought about it for 2 days, 2 straight days. It started bugging me. And then I started thinking, well, you know what? Basically, what this man is saying is true. Carlos Munoz Ferrada, very well respected astronomer and scientist. He talks about Hibberculus. But did he ever show us observational evidence? Did he ever show us pictures? No, he didn't. He wrote about it. He talked about it. He hypothesized about it. Dr. Robert Harrington, did he ever show photographs? No, actually he didn't. By the time or whatever he was looking at, way down in the southern hemisphere from New Zealand pointing downward was so far away that he didn't, he wasn't going to get any kind of photographs. He plotted it. He produced some mathematical equations, presented it to the U.S. government, and then they killed him. But did he ever show any real absolute proof? Not to the general public. Now, we go into the master of Nibiru, Marshall Masters. Has Marshall Masters ever shown anybody observational evidence? No, nothing. All theoretical, all storybook stories. He never showed you proof of anything. Nancy Leader, batshit Nancy Leader. Did Nancy Leader ever show anybody observational evidence like you've seen here on Planet X News? No, she has not. She has shown some lens flares. Marshall Masters has shown quite a few lens flares. So let's keep on moving. Gil Broussard. To me, I know Gil, and I've had multiple conversations with him in 2016 and 2017. Did a live stream with him. He doesn't show any observational evidence. The big telescope that he shows in his photographs was not his. It was a prop for those photo shoots. What observational evidence has Gil Broussard ever shown anybody besides a fancy colored poster and some past biblical knowledge that, to me, is not evidence? It might be history, but it's not evidence. It is not in any way, shape, or the form observational evidence. If you are going to research something, truly research it, then you are going to be held to show observational evidence. Evidence, not a colorful poster that you had printed at Staples, not a fancy book, not some fancy drawings, not some fancy, picture you made on your computer. Observational evidence. That's science. That's real research. So, the man went a little further in his email, and he said that, I stopped listening to Terrell Blackstar because he says the same thing over and over. He uses a solar system simulator and points to a black space on the solar system simulator program and says that's where the black star is, but you can't see it. Okay, well, that would get pretty boring after a while. I haven't seen in all my years not one single person show credible Planet X observational evidence. Not one. And what the man was saying is and I'm just going to come out and say what he said. They called Robert Harrington the godfather of Planet X. But he said to me in the email, he said, Scott, Harrington's really not the godfather of Planet X. You are. You're the only one that I know of on this whole planet that has shown me proof. And your proof has stayed consistent over all these years. And you still keep coming up with the evidence month after month after month after month. And you know what they say about consistency. If you're consistent, then you've done your homework. You've done your research. And I emailed him back and I said, hey, thank you for the new title that you've given me. And after thinking about it, I thought about it for a couple days. And when people talk about Planet X, those names come up first. Robert Harrington, Carlos Munoz Ferrada, Marshall Masters, Nancy Leader. But mine doesn't. You know why mine doesn't come up? Is because all of those people are fake. They're frauds. They've never shown you any evidence whatsoever. The only evidence that you're ever going to see is right here. Because I found this object. I found this massive monster orbiting our sun. I calculated its 28-day orbit. I theorized this orbit for almost a year, taking notes every single month, month after month after month after month, noting it all down in a notebook, placing it all in a calendar program in my computer till I figured it out. No other YouTube channel, none, has ever shown you folks that type of proof, and consistently, month after month after month after month. So, for you guys, that watch other channels, where is their proof? Sam Hoffman, that kook that does the crayon drawings of big gigantic gas giants in the clouds. That guy's a complete kook. Has he ever shown anybody any real evidence other than a Crayola crayon drawing? No, he hasn't. Has anybody shown any of you solid, hardcore photographic evidence? If they have, I'd like for you to show me, because I'd be interested. That's why just recently on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, he had a recent interview with Marshall Masters. It was the most ridiculous video that I've seen Marshall Masters do, and I've seen them all. He showed no evidence. He talked about the tribulation and all of that other nonsense that nobody cares about. Because if there's going to be a tribulation, that's pretty much the sign of the end of humanity, which I don't think that we're going anywhere near anytime soon. He showed no observational evidence whatsoever. I have contacted George Norrie over a dozen times. I have sent them complete files of my observational evidence. Not once have I received a return email, a return phone call, nothing. They have all of my information. They know how to get in touch with me. But you know what? My subject matter, my evidence is entirely too controversial for his AM radio program. You know why nobody wants to interview me? Is because they know the minute that they put me on their YouTube channel or their radio channel or whatever, that they will be censored. Because we will be showing the utmost incredible observational evidence ever shown to the public. Now, like I said in the beginning, folks, I'm not trying to sit here and be arrogant and toot my own horn. I've put years and years and years and years of work into figuring this out. And now that I've figured it out, I'm not afraid of it anymore. I find it intriguing. I study it. I want to know more about it. I wish that, I wish NASA would just get off their high horse and say, hey, come on down here to Houston and let us show you our evidence. But that's never going to happen. Why? Because it upsets the apple cart of science. It's never going to happen. And maybe unless something tragic happens. And then maybe it'll be too late. But like I said, I'm not trying to be arrogant or, sit here and talk big about myself. I wanted to share the thoughts out of that email because that email that man sent me really got me going. After thinking about it for a couple of days, I thought to myself, holy shit, you know what? This guy's right. Nobody has ever shown the evidence that I have. And yet, they have the bigger names. They get all of the notoriety. Well, I'm not worried about the notoriety, but you know why they get the notoriety is because it's fake. The government wants you to believe the fake stuff. That way, you're thrown off. So they'll put the fake stuff right in front of you, and they'll let it get 1 million and 2 million and 5 million views. But the good stuff, they'll censor it. The good scientists, they'll censor them. They'll crush them into the ground. And that's been going on for hundreds of years. Okay? It's being done to me. But what are you going to do? You know? What are you going to do? Back down? If you back down, then they've won the game. You know, they've won the war. You may have won a few battles, but they've won the war. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, some of you may think that, you know, what I said and what I expressed was arrogant or self-centered, but it's really not. I didn't mean it to be that way. I'm just sharing with you that email and what that gentleman said to me and how it got me thinking. And then, you know, after thinking about it for a couple of days, I started thinking to myself, wow, all of the research that I've done over all of these years, all of the reading, you know, all of the studying, all of the learning. And then here I am, you know. It's captivating. Yeah. Oh, I see what there's a troll calling me a liar. Look. You know how many people call me a liar on a daily basis? I mean, besides my political website, well, my news website and my research into Planet X, you calling me a liar, anybody calling me a liar doesn't bother me whatsoever. Okay, I see somebody here said Gil Broussard showed a video of a comet passing Mars, and that would be referred to the Bible's thunderbolts being thrown down. Now, see, look, guys, you've got to get away from the Bible and Planet X research. They don't go together. Planet X is not in the Bible. People get confused because of Steve Olson and his WSO channel and Wormwood. Wormwood's mentioned one time in the whole Bible. There is no wormwood. There is no wormwood. It's a biblical myth. It's a biblical parable. And wormwood is a plant substance that has a real soury, bitter taste. It's just like people get the blue kachina and the red kachina. Well, I've never heard of a red kachina. That's kind of made up. And the blue kachina, if you do your research and you dig deep, it refers to what they thought was a star, but turned out to be star people that came from up above and came down and gave the Hopi knowledge. Well, what does that sound like? That sounds like a UFO. And UFOs have been depicted in cultures around the world for thousands of years. So again, you know, people catch on to these built up myths. They believe them, and then they start to spread the story over and over, and that's how everybody gets confused. So the blue kachina has nothing to do with Planet X. There is no red kachina. There is no wormwood. There's no proof of any of those things. Gil Broussard is a con artist. Period. Gil Broussard could not hold my jockstrap. Period. He can do all of the biblical research that he wants. But what does that have to do with the object that is orbiting our sun now? Nothing. That's why these people will not face me one-on-one. Period. They just won't. Look, if I was defrauding tens of thousands and millions of people, and I had a smart cookie like myself calling you out, I wouldn't want to go messing around with you either, especially if you had the hardcore evidence like you do. But I'd like to see other people's evidence if they had true, viable evidence, but they don't. They don't know how to get it. They don't know how to track this object. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have science backgrounds. Nothing. Period. You know, everybody thinks Gil Broussard's an astronomer. He's no astronomer. He doesn't even own a telescope. He was in the petroleum industry there in Louisiana. And you can't believe a word Marshall Masters says. You know, he's been deemed a complete kook and a liar from day one. Can't believe any of these people. You know, I mean, what are you going to really believe? What are they really showing you? Nothing. And look, just because somebody calls me a liar, that doesn't bother me, guys. I've been called way, way worse. Hey, there's my man, Gary Garcia. What's going down, Gary? Gary's out there protesting on the West Coast out there, sticking up for his rights. You go, boy. But, you know, I mean, look, I've been trolled to hell and back. I've been threatened. I've had the FBI at my house. I've had everything done to me, you know, crazy stuff. And, you know, recently with, you know, the death of my ex-wife, you know, I got some pretty horrible, nasty emails from trolls on YouTube. Yeah. Matter of fact, I don't know if any of you know that punk on YouTube that goes by the name Astronomy Live. You know, he thinks he's some hot shit. He sent me an email. He sent me a filthy, dirty, rotten email. I didn't respond to it. You know, I don't have the time to play games with that fool anymore. But, you know, he's been riding on my jockstrap since 2016. You know, they send me nasty emails, you know, about the death of my ex-wife, the death of my grandmother, the death of my mother. You know, I mean, they've done everything there is that they can do to me. You know, I just blow it off and I move on. Until they knock at my door like a grown-ass man and face me one-on-one. What? You're just a big mouth behind a keyboard, and that's it. You're nothing. But anyways, yeah, folks, I mean, again, I didn't want to sound arrogant, like, you know, talking about, you know, Carlos Ferrada and Robert Harrington, but that email that gentleman sent me, it kind of made sense. You know, I searched for years and years and years, 2 decades, looking for the most credible information, and didn't find it through anybody else but myself. And solid, hardcore research, man, elbow grease, and a lot of time. But I'm going to cut out of here. And once again, I'd like to thank all of you who helped out. It helped my family. It was a really, really big deal to me. Very, very humbling, very, very gracious, very appreciative. It's a real stunner for me, for somebody that's, always been there to help somebody else. You're not used to people helping you, especially hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people from all around the world. I just don't have words for it, Usually my mouth is going 1,000 miles an hour, but when it comes to this, I'm a real loss for words, and it really hit me right here, dead in the heart, man. And I didn't want to get all choked up on here, I don't like people seeing the soft side of me. What's this guy TC802 talking about? TC802, what do you have proof of? I'm going to give you one shot right now. What do you have proof of? Come on, homeboy. What do you got proof of? TC802, what do you have proof of? What's this guy talking about, man? Let me see something here. Why can't I click on that? It won't let me click on him. TC802. I'm asking the dude what the hell he has proof of. Oh, I don't know. Let me see something here for a second, folks. Let's just take a look at something real fast. This guy says he has proof of what? What does he have proof of? Here's his YouTube channel. Here's your 15 minutes of fame, TC802. Triangle craft spewed out exhaust. Crazy evil face in the clouds. There's a mental condition for that. I don't see nothing. Pink moon. Here. This right here. Yeah, that's just your camera overloaded with light. Period. Learn some things about photography. I don't see nothing. I don't see no proof. I don't see no evidence. I see nothing at all on your YouTube channel. So I don't know what you're talking about, homeboy. Nothing. Maybe you'll get some views. I don't know. Yeah, but look, folks, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to try to get a few things done around my house here, and got to catch up on some politics and what's going on around the world. TC802, there's no such thing as two suns. There's no such thing as two suns. Get that out of your mind. There is no such thing as two suns. You're looking at reflections and lens flares, and I can prove it. I'll prove it to you right now. Here, let's get this guy out of the way. There's your two suns. See, folks, it's people like that that confuse everybody. And that's what they want. You know, the little government trolling operations, they want all of you to be confused. They want you to believe that, oh yeah, there's two suns in the sky. But there's not two suns in the sky. This photograph right here, this is the real sun. Right there. This is a ghosted image when you're using digital cameras. Look, just like it says, that's why I made this little piece right here. When you see this effect, it's caused by a ghosting image within the digital camera. You can also get the same effect when taking pictures of a full moon. Now check this out. On a full moon, when I look out of my office window through the glass, I see two moons. Just this morning at 4:30 a.m., the moon was right there. And as I looked out the glass, what do I see? Two moons. One here, one there. But when I step outside and I look with the naked eye, there's only one. When I hold my cell phone up to take a picture, there's two. Your camera is overloaded with the light. Period. That is the problem with digital cameras. Period. Learn about reflections. Learn about it. It happens with, you could have a $1,500 iPhone. The iPhones are notorious for the blue object, which people call it the blue kachina. It's nothing more than an internal reflection into your camera. Period. Now I'm done with you, TC. Two sons, possibly a third. All righty, buddy. But anyway, there are no two sons. Time with you. Once again, thank you for the contribution during the live chat. I really appreciate that and definitely use it. Once again, for everybody that helped out with my family tragedy. I don't know what else to say. Good. But I give you my knowledge. I give you my knowledge. I give you my attitude. I give you my personality. But anyways, folks. Something's happening with the sound. Anyways, folks, I'm out of here. Something must be happening with the live. You guys take care, and I will see you next time. Stay tuned.